Why, hello there! You may be wondering what that wonderful piece of music was that we were just listening to. If you already know the answer, then wow, good on you, and let us know in the comments. That clip featured soprano Angela Mortellaro, who sang at our gala 3 seasons back, and was an excerpt from a modern opera entitled The Book Collector, composed by Orlando's own Stella Sung, who will be joining us on the program today. Hello, my mostly self-isolated friends, and welcome to The High Note, our weekly live stream featuring updates, interviews, and more from Opera Orlando. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Wow. It's amazing. You know, every week the crowd sounds exactly the same. I don't know how that happens. I'm your host, Gabriel Preisser, broadcasting live from the intimate setting of my dining room. Today is a very special program indeed. Not only will Stella be joining me, but also Pulitzer Prize and Grammy Award-winning librettist Mark Campbell. I know. I'm excited too. Mark and Stella have been hard at work creating Opera Orlando's first commissioned opera, The Secret River. Based on the book by Marjorie Keene Ann Rawlings, things are already underway, as you can see with our promotional images here, featuring Kiani Richardson, who will sing the role of Calpurnia, a young girl who learns of the hungry her family and community are suffering. So she visits a wise woman in the forest named Albertha in search of a solution. Albertha tells Calpurnia that there is a secret river that teems with fish, but that she can only find the river when she overcomes her fears and learns to trust her own imagination. Well, Calpurnia finds that secret river and is able to save not just her family, but also her village. I know this work will touch your heart as it did mine when I first read the book. We happen to have the book here, which I read with my kids just a few nights ago. Grayson, my son, even put together his interpretation of the secret river with Legos, of course. You can hear the river. You can hear the river. Great job to Grayson. Well, given that the book is set in Central Florida and is Opera Orlando's first commission, we really want all of you to feel a part of the process of its creation. So, to get us started, please help me welcome composer Stella Sung and librettist Mark Campbell.
Hey.
Hey. Mark and Stella, so good to see you guys. Thank you for taking your time to join us, especially during these challenging times. Well, first and foremost, where are you guys and how are you guys?
Well, hi Gabe, hi Mark, hello everybody out there in Operaland. I'm here actually in Gainesville with my parents, but of course I normally live in Orlando.
And how are things? And what about you, Mark? Where are you these days?
I'm on Fire Island, actually. There's a Atlantic Ocean a minute away and the Great South Bay a half a minute away. And I was in New York, where I live, up until about 10 days ago, but moved out here in this lovely little house.
Well, it looks like you guys are both safe and healthy, which is the most important thing at these times. And thank you again for joining us. We wanted to use this time to introduce you to our audience and give us all a chance to learn more about the creative process for The Secret River. So, Dr. Stella Sung, let's start with you. Born and raised in Florida, you serve on the faculty at the University of Central Florida as the Endowed Trustees Chair, Professor, and Director of the Center for Research and Education in Arts, Technology, and Entertainment. Whew! That's a mouthful, Stella.
It is.
And you were the first...
We just call it...
Yeah. What do you guys call it?
We just call it CREATE.
Oh,
Easier.
I wish I would have known that. That's all right. But now everybody knows what CREATE stands for there at UCF. And you were also the first composer in residence for the Orlando Philharmonic Orchestra, our artistic partner. Shout out to the Orlando Phil. I hope they're listening in. Your work has included pieces for cellist Yo-Yo Ma, the German Ministry of Culture, not to be confused with the Ministry of Magic, that's a different thing, the National Symphony Orchestra, the Hong Kong Philharmonic, and the Cincinnati Pops, among others. Wow, what an amazing resume. We're so excited to have you on board, Stella. And this will be your third opera, is that right?
Yes, it is. Actually, I survived 2, amazingly. Operas are big undertakings for composers and librettists.
Right.
And So, but I'm very, very excited to be undertaking this one, our third opera here. So, yeah.
Tell us a little bit about the other two operas that you have composed.
Yes, the first one was called The Red Silk Thread, an epic tale of Marco Polo. And
wow.
It was first performed at the University of Michigan and then subsequently performed at the University of Florida with a full-length production. It's a two-hour show. And then the second opera was called The Book Collector, and that was written when I was composer in residence for the Dayton Performing Arts Alliance over in Dayton, Ohio. We were recipients of a Music Alive Award, so that allowed me to be with DPAA for 3 years. So our culminating work was actually The Book Collector, which is a pairing to be paired with Carmina Burana.
Wow, what a clever idea, given Carmina Burana's performed so much. And we actually listened to a clip of The Book Collector at the start of our program. It's beautiful, beautiful music. I remember seeing the video recording that you shared with me. I hope one day maybe we can put it on here. We'll have to see. Now, you are joined today by one of the leading librettists in the opera world, Mark Campbell, or should I say Pulitzer Prize and Grammy Award-winning librettist Mark Campbell. Mark, you are truly at the forefront of the contemporary opera scene in this country with 37 opera librettos, lyrics for 7 musicals, and text for 5 song cycles and 2 oratorios. Your best-known works are Silent Night, The Revolution of Steve Jobs, As One, which we will actually be presenting next season at Opera Orlando, The Shining, based on the Stephen King thriller, Elizabeth Cree, Sanctuary Road, and Songs from an Unmade Bed. Wow, Mark, impressive stuff. You must never sleep. Now tell me, how...
Well, I manage my sleep.
Yeah, and tell me, how did a big city guy like yourself end up with all of us small-town hicks here in Orlando?
Well, I don't view Orlando as a place of small-town hicks, but I really love the company. I love what you're doing with the company, Gabe, and turning it around and establishing a connection with the audience that you have there. And I identified that a couple of years ago when you and I and David Charles Bell and a few other people organized a benefit following the shooting at the Pulse nightclub.
Right.
And that was One Voice Orlando. And it was a very transformative event for me and very moving. And I identified then how closely this company works with and works for the community. So when you approached me to write this libretto, I said yes very quickly. And especially after listening to Stella's music, I think Stella writes such extraordinary lyrical music. And I find in contemporary opera that that lyricism is missing. And that's often what we go to contemporary opera for. So right. I feel that this is a fantastic team, a great project. I'm very excited to just jump ahead on it.
Yeah, One Voice Orlando will always hold a special place in my heart. It was a transformative experience, like you said, Mark. And our first interaction actually goes all the way back to Minnesota opera, some colder colder climates up there when we were doing Silent Night. I was so privileged to be part of the world premiere of that work, which went on to win the Pulitzer Prize. I wanted to share just a clip of Silent Night so people can get a sense of your work, Mark, and kind of the success that you've had. You know, modern opera, as you say, it's kind of an acquired taste. It doesn't always catch on, but you look at something like Silent Night, it's had numerous productions all over the world. It's really a testament to the power and the humanity of the piece and the success of your collaboration with Kevin Putz, don't you think?
Oh, absolutely. But also, I would say that the original production at Minnesota Opera, of which you were a big part of, was also a strong contributing element of the success of Silent Night, directed by Eric Simonson.
Right.
And, you know, opera is all about collaboration. That's why we're here today. And it's not one single person who makes an opera succeed. Silent Night would not succeed because of the libretto alone. It's so many forces, including the singers, that contribute to an opera's success. It's one reason I love the form.
It really was an amazing cast. Bill Burden, Craig Irvin, Liam Bonner. Absolutely fabulous. We have some clips that we want to share.
Aaron Wolverton.
Thank you, Aaron Wolverton. Thank you. because I get the Minnesota production mixed up with the Opera Philly. So this highlight reel was put together by Opera Philly, but it is clips from Minnesota Opera's original production. Here we are, highlights of Silent Night.
Agreed, but only for tonight. Merry Christmas, Joyeux Noel. Fröhliche Weihnachten.
That video is on Opera Philly's YouTube page, or if you just search in YouTube Silent Night, there's all sorts of videos out there. There's also a website dedicated to Silent Night. Please check it out. Such a magnificent piece. Well, let's try and bring it back here to the Secret River now. It kind of took us a while to land on this work when the three of us first got together all those years ago and started talking about Opera Orlando commissioning a new work. What was it about the Secret River for you all that got you inspired and wanted to move forward and wanted us all to move forward with the commission?
Well, I'll answer that to start with, Gabe. I think, you and I had talked about doing an opera, and then when we brought Mark into it, actually Mark was saying that he'd like for us to find something that was based in Florida. And so if you remember, we went around thinking about maybe Space Coast or Ponce de Leon or all kinds of things.
Right.
And then a friend of mine introduced me to this book, The Secret River. And then I read it, and then I passed it around to you guys, and I think we all immediately agreed that this was it. This was the story that we wanted to tell. Being set in Florida by a writer who was based in Florida, it just felt right from the beginning. So,
And what about you, Mark?
Yeah, I mean, I all of the things that Stella said are reasons why I loved hearing this story. But I would also add that we were all very excited about the fact that it features the story of an African American family. There are too few operas in being written today or any time that feature a very positive example of an African American family surviving and bonding together to survive the Great Depression. Also, it features a very strong female protagonist. That's something that we all cared about, because there's so many operas with female protagonists that, I don't know, they kill themselves if they dare have sex or they dare love someone or anything like that. Opera is just, traditional opera is rife with bad examples of female characters. So that was exciting. I was also thrilled to see a story that would showcase Stella's music in a positive way, that would show the expansiveness and lyricism in her music. This is a story that allows for those moments that we love in opera, the big arias, the ensembles. We don't have a big chorus, but we will have a youth chorus. And all of these factors contributed to just a very serendipitous coming together of forces.
And Mark, you've already put together an absolutely beautiful, poetic libretto for this production. What was perhaps your favorite part, or I could ask that the other way, what was your most challenging part in putting together the libretto for The Secret River?
Well, we have to remember that Marjorie Kinnan Rawlings wrote a story that was intended for young adults. And young adults means, I mean, what the hell does that mean, really? We don't know if that's like old adults, young adults. But
I feel like I'm a young adult still.
It means the entire family, really.
Right.
And so one thing that I needed to do as I was writing the libretto is take what she had written and expand it so that it works for an opera, but at the same time preserving a certain sense of naivete and magic that is in the story that has made it so popular.
Right.
Over these, I mean, it's lasted several decades, and I think that was a bit of a challenge, but it wasn't that difficult to write, to be frank. I know your writers are always supposed to say, "Oh, I struggled so many hours to write this." The truth is that it helped. There was so much there to work with that it was pretty. It kind of wrote itself in many ways.
I guess it can also be a freeing experience that, it's probably 12 to 13 pages here and not a lot of text on each page. It's not Lord of the Rings, mind you. So you have a lot of leeway to really interpret it and expand the piece.
Yes, and there might have been a phrase that said, oh, this phrase could lead to an entire aria. Or something that Ms. Rawlings had indicated in a story that I thought, oh, I could expand this into more of and add more conflict by expanding this. But it was all there, and it is. It's so much easier to have less of a plot than it is to have like so many plot elements that there's no room for the expansion of music.
Right, exactly. So that's really the first step, getting the libretto, the words, and then we move on to the music. The composition of the score and the orchestration, and that's Stella's domain. And Stella, so far, what have been your challenges or your favorite parts in writing the music for this?
Well, I do want to say Mark has given me a wonderful libretto. It is structurally very, very sound and very creative. And so that's really the first step for me, is to be able to look through and read through the libretto, the pacing and the rhythm of the libretto, which is already very musically written, as Mark has given me this wonderful structure. And so, I think as I'm writing through it now and looking through and working on the piece, so far I haven't had a whole lot of challenges, actually. And maybe like Mark, it's kind of flowing, like a river.
Like a river. Oh, I got to do my sound effect again. There's
like
that river.
Yeah.
There's that river. I hear it.
And I think it's kind of moving at its own pace. And of course, I'll be working on it this summer, and we'll get to the next place with that. So, but it's. I think because we all believe in this project so much, it just that force of joy and wonderment of the process is really kind of driving us all. So
it has been a very positive experience, collaboration thus far, and the music you've already composed for it is so melodic. It does flow like a river. We have a clip of the first aria of the work, which will be sung by the character Marjorie Keenan Rawlings in the production. And here she's trying to get over a writing block, as it were. Of course, she finally does and lands on the inspired idea of the secret river. Here is Operaland studio artist Anna Eschbach singing Write What You Know from the Secret River.
On Park Avenue, some swanky guests, some witty chat. Scratch that, scratch that. A castle in the south of Spain. A funny king, a talking cat. Scratch that, scratch that. The great Marjorie Keenan Rawlings, famous author, attempts another novel. Falls flat on her. Scratch that. Write what you know. Advise good old Mark Twain. Write what you know, says the old refrain. The world around you is as far as you need to go. Write what you know. Write what you know. An ice floe on the Bering Strait. A polar bear without a chum is feeling glum. And then some penguins come. Oh, that's just dumb. Write what you know. It has worked before. Write what you know, and it could once more. The world around you, and the words will begin to flow. Write what you know. Write what you know. A girl, young and smart, a humble home in the marshes, not far from Cross Creek. Yes, that's good. Wakes one morning. She has a toy dog made of sticks.
absolutely gorgeous. Brava to Anna and brava to you, Stella. At times, audiences may be intimidated by modern opera, even afraid of modern opera. But Stella, I find your music so accessible, so lyrical, absolutely gorgeous. I know our audiences will fall in love with the world you and Mark are both creating for Calpurnia and her journey. And now to help with the journey, we have assembled a wonderful creative team or production team. We want to introduce them all to you today. As stage director and making his Opera Orlando debut, we are excited to welcome Dennis Whitehead Darling. Conductor and music director will be the incomparable Everett McCorvey, founder of the American Spiritual Ensemble. Scenic design will be done by Opera Orlando's own Gabriel Preisser. No relation there, I promise. With costume design by Jessica John and puppetry provided by our friends at Micheli Puppets under the direction of Tracy Connor. And I should mention that Micheli Puppets will also be partnering with us on an education initiative in the elementary schools leading up to the premiere. And Micheli has done great work in the schools with their puppets. So we're excited for this new partnership, this new initiative with them. We've already had some production meetings, concept meetings, all via Zoom or Google Hangouts, given our social distancing thing. And I have to say the team is already gelling, despite us working remotely. Stella and Mark, what do you guys think about the team we've put together?
Mark, you know most of these folks well. And Mark, you've got to unmute there.
Uh-oh, Mark,
I
make
forgot.
sure. That's all right, bud.
With Stella's music that I forgot to unmute. I'm still singing along.
Of course, write what you know.
But it is, what she's done is really quite remarkable because it takes that lyric and it finds the comedy in it, but also the meaningful moments in that. And it's really a beautiful aria. Thank you again, Stella. I love the team. I've worked with so many of them before. I have not actually worked with Dennis Whitehead Darling, but I'm familiar with his work, especially the work he's done in Memphis with Memphis Opera and or Opera Memphis. I can never know when you guys do that, when you turn the city ahead of the company.
I hate it when they do that. Oh, whoops.
It's so confusing. And then I've worked with Jessica John, tremendous
Fabulous
costumer.
Yeah.
We worked on Rappahannock County and Manchurian Candidate. And Everett did Silent Night at University of Kentucky, and I adored him instantly. It's a great team, and I can't wait for us to be in a room together, workshopping this and finding ways to make it better and understanding it. And I'll shut up, but I want to say that it's real kudos to Opera Orlando to be assembling a team so early on in the process. A lot of times, a customer is thrown in at the last minute, or a set designer. It's well after the opera has been written. So they're in it with us from the beginning, and we can all identify issues and just ways to make the opera better. So it's a great way to work.
I'm so happy to hear you say that,
It's a
Mark.
fantastic team. It's a fantastic team. And I have not worked with any of these folks yet, but the conversations we've had via internet and so on have been very exciting, very, very positive. And it's just going to be great when we all get together. Yeah.
Yeah, for now we're all working behind the scenes and socially distanced, all that good stuff. But hopefully come next January we can meet in person for a piano workshop presenting parts of the opera. And that will be open to the general public, which I think is a real special experience, again, for the community to feel a part of this piece, which is written about our community. And Stella, can you kind of fill us in on what can the audience expect? What exactly is a piano workshop of an opera?
Sure. So operas tend to go through this process. It's part of the process. So we have a piano vocal workshop where the composer, sometimes the librettist, the conductor, and a pianist, and the singers, sometimes a stage director, will be there. And we kind of go through the piece, pace it out, not all at the same time. We might take sections of it, but basically to go through it, find the structural issues, if there are any, sometimes musical questions. So I might write something that may not really fit well with a voice, and the singer will say, well, I really think this would be better. And so, for example, when we did our piano workshops for the book collector, We had our workshop during the day, and then I would take suggestions and work them in during the evening, send them off to the librarian, and the next day the singers would have new parts.
Wow.
So it's a very give and take, fluid kind of process that people go through, but it's a very important process, and we always learn a lot from it. So I'm very excited and looking forward to our workshops. Yeah.
It really is a living work of art that we're all collaborating
Yes.
and enhancing together. So then after that, we'll do an orchestra workshop in May of 2021. We'll also add in some production elements, some preliminary elements, especially the puppets will be brought in at that point. And Mark, that may seem like a lot of workshopping, but really for opera, you can go through multiple workshops, right? Tell us a little bit about that process.
Typically, you do 3 workshops if you're doing a 2-act opera. This is not a 2-act opera, so 2 workshops will be plenty. We'll learn plenty, and we'll improve plenty with these 2 workshops. But the orchestral workshop is really key for the composer, because that's where the composer and the conductor get to connect. And the reason we do this is pretty much financial. We do not want to get into a rehearsal process where we've hired the cast and suddenly discover a problem. We want to get those issues ironed out before we meet with the cast, because then we're all unified on this story. United, not unified, united.
Exactly. So gosh, we have a lot of work ahead of us. After that orchestra workshop, we then have the entire summer to make any other changes we want. We then can finalize our costumes, the sets, all that fun stuff leading up to the premiere in December. It'll be here before you know it, December of 2021, I should say, not 2020. Well, we're almost out of time, but we did have a couple of great questions online here. One question was, what is meant by the secret river? And I think what they're asking is it really a secret river? Is it real? Does she find a real river? Is it all in her imagination? What is meant by the secret river? Either of you want to try and tackle that one? That's a tough one.
Mark, you go ahead.
Yeah, I'm not going to quote my own lyrics. It would be obnoxious. But for me, the secret river is a place of the imagination that we all, as human beings, whether you're artistic or not, it has nothing to do with that. Artists are the only reason people are artists is because they've been trusted. Someone has given them some tools and said, you know what your imagination is, now create. Everyone has an imagination, and everyone can create. We're lucky that we've been entrusted to do that and get paid for it. Millions and millions of dollars.
It's like, wait, we get paid? What?
But the secret river is just a place that is, it's metaphysical. It's a place within us. It's our spirit that we can all find if we trust ourselves. And I think right now, while the world is going through this crisis, we need to trust on our spirits more than ever.
Right.
We certainly can't trust on money or government or anything else. We have to look in our hearts. And that expression of heart might mean God. It might mean trust in our own soul. It might mean being an artist. But the secret river it's an important place for all of us. And we need it more now than ever.
And if I remember correctly,
Well said, Mark.
there's a very well said, Mark. There's a lyric in your libretto that the secret river flows through all of us. I might be paraphrasing, but I just love that message that it's each of us have the power of imagination within us and the power of a secret river to help
and
us.
It's made stronger if you could take each of us. It's made stronger by all of us when there's a connection and support among all of us. Yeah, I'm talking about socialism.
Well, we're out of time now. We must.
I know. I won't go there. But when there is a connection with all of us and we can support each other, the river flow. Well, now you're going to make me write a bad lyric. The river flows even more strongly and more believably.
Right.
There's another aspect to it to answer the writer's question there. A more sort of practical part of it is that Canan Rawlings lived near in Cross Creek and near the St. Johns River. So
Right.
she drew a lot of her inspiration from the river, from the true river itself. She went fishing, she went frog hunting, she did a lot of stuff. And so for her, the river was also symbolic, I think, of the life that is around the river, that is found, that the river supports, you know. And so the story has a lot to do with what the river, imaginary or not, brings to the life of the people. The connection to nature is very, very strong, both in our story and in throughout Caden Rawlings' life too. So that's a more practical approach to the thing. But I really agree with Mark what he said, and I think that's the spirit that we're capturing in our work.
There is both a metaphysical interpretation and a literal interpretation. I hope we're all getting outdoors more nowadays, since we have the time to do so and enjoying what's out there in nature. Well, one other question, dates for the workshop. The piano workshop is actually going to be on January 17th. That's what it's scheduled for, 2021. So hopefully that will hold true. We'll keep you guys all posted on that. The Orchestral Workshop will be early May, and then the premiere is December of 2021. Well, unfortunately, that's all we have time for because of our technical glitches earlier. But Mark and Stella, thank you all so very much for joining us. Any last words before we send you off?
Thank you, and thank you to all of our friends, our patrons, anyone who's tuning in, and Gabe, to your team, Mark, to you for this wonderful work. And we really are excited and looking forward to bringing this to Orlando. Very exciting to be a part of the first commission for Opera Orlando, and the first of, we hope, many. So thank you.
Fingers crossed.
The only thing I want to say is for everyone to hang in there and practice your physical distancing and wash your hands. I'm
washing them right now. I'm washing them under the table. Thank you guys so much. Let's hear it from Mark and Stella. Take care, guys.
Thank you.
Bye. Thank you.
Wow, they love you here. They love you here. Well, fabulous. So let me tell you what's coming up online in the arts. Tonight is Viewer's Choice of the Metropolitan Opera, their online stream of Puccini's La Boheme, starring Renata Scotto and Luciana Pavarotti. Can't beat that. Conducted by James Levine. That is from 1977, so make sure that is a must tune in. Phantasmagoria continues their weekly streams on Sundays at 8 p.m. with fire dancing and more. The Orlando Philharmonic continues their Soundbite series, which you can learn more about on their Facebook page or Vimeo page. Our friends at Timucua Arts Foundation are streaming a concert tonight at 7:30 p.m. and this Sunday at 7:30 p.m. Please visit their Facebook page for more information. And our friends at the Orlando Ballet Company and School continue to post live training sessions for all ages called Be Moved. Be Moved. Also, make sure to save the date for our Youth Company online showcase on Friday, May 29th at 12 p.m. right here on our Facebook page. This will serve as a fundraiser for our partner, Orlando Health. Please consider donating supplies or in other ways to Orlando Health at this time, as they lead the charge on the front lines here during this time of the COVID-19 pandemic. Now, we hope to see you all again next week, and make sure to dress up for our virtual mini gala. What? A virtual gala? Oh wow, it's happening. Dance break. Okay, that's all right. Yeah, thank you. That's about enough of that. Exactly right, we will have a virtual mini gala next Friday. I'll be in my tuxedo with special guest artist Abigail Rethwich, who was going to sing on our gala that would have been on May 16th. So you feel free to attend in your PJs, and no need to purchase a ticket or a table. You will have to provide your own 4-course meal though, so sorry about that. And a little reminder that season tickets for the 2020-21 Opera on the Main Stage series at Dr. Phillips Center are on sale now. That's right. Purchase now to get early bird pricing and save up to $40 on all 3 productions, Die Fledermaus, Hansel and Gretel, and Carmen. Now, to close us out today, we wanted to share highlights from our youth company production of Noah's Flood by Benjamin Britten, which they presented last year. Our youth company would have presented their production of The Very Last Green Thane last weekend were it not for the current pandemic. Hence why they will be presenting an online concert at the end of this month in place of that. We are always so proud of our youth company members, and I think you will see why with this clip. I should also mention that we are overjoyed to know that Robin Jensen, our youth company founder and director, has returned home and is recovering. Shout out to you, Robin. We send you our love and our virtual hugs. Now, sit back and enjoy highlights from Noah's Flood featuring musicians from Jones High School, stage direction by Timothy Williams, costumes by Kim Wellborn, and puppetry by Rebecca Lang.
I see my people in deed and thought are set full foul in sin now.
Thank you for joining us today, and join us again next week for an online mini gala with special guest soprano Abigail Rethwich. Stay safe, hang in there, and see you online at the opera.
Im Feuer stand der Leben, tralalalala, schwült ein himmlisch Leben, tralalalala. Der Könige, den Kaiser, sein Leben Lobereise, doch jemand geht daneben, dem süßen Saft der Leben. Stoßt an, und freudig dem Vereine, dem König schneller Weine, dem König schneller Weine. Stoßt an, die Majestät wird anerkannt, rief sie platt, loben wir Champagner, die ist sehr genannt. Die Majestät wird anerkannt, rief sie platt, loben wir Champagner, Musik